Donald's vicious immigration policies are continuing to face resistance in the courts and on the streets. The Latin Times reports that a New York federal judge ordered Suffolk County and its sheriff's office to pay over $112 million to immigrants mistreated by ICE in 2017. What's the rush, right? Anyway, this ruling is to compensate 674 immigrants who were unlawfully detained in county jails during Donald's first term, which means that's not nearly enough money. They were held in custody even after posting bail or resolving their criminal charges. The judge found that this was a violation of the immigrants' 14th Amendment rights to due process, because back in 2017, there was still such a thing as the right to due process in America. The lawsuit stemmed from a Long Island resident, originally from Guatemala, who was held past his release date and then transferred multiple times without notice. As I said, it is amazing, and yet another bit of evidence how justice grinding too slow may not be fine after all, because it's been 8 years. Now, new evidence shows that many of the detentions in Donald's Chicago ICE raids were predicated on lies. Shocking, I know. The Guardian found that according to a new court filing, over 97% of the people arrested in Donald's so-called Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago had no criminal convictions. Now, remember, we were promised, or he promised us, and anybody who believed him, well, shame on you, that anybody sent out of the country would be the worst of the worst. I know 97% of the people rounded up had no criminal convictions of any kind whatsoever. There is no reason to believe anymore that the Trump regime is targeting anybody other than brown people who happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Of the 614 immigrants detained, only 16 had significant criminal histories. The majority of those detained had no convictions or pending charges, despite being framed, as I said, the worst of the worst. The data were released as part of a federal lawsuit, Castanen Nava versus DHS. This suit alleges that the Chicago raids violated a 2022 decree limiting warrantless immigration arrests. Donald has also recently sent ICE into North Carolina in a deployment called Operation Charlotte's Web. I think that there must be a significant department in the federal government in which employees are just paid to come up with stupid nicknames for things. Anyway, the action by us has been met with widespread resistance from local residents, including students. People Magazine, by the way, thank goodness. Like, that's a magazine you see when you're checking out at a grocery store or a Walmart or a Target. People Magazine reports on Monday, November 17th, Charlotte Mecklenburg schools reported over 30,000 students missing from class. The students were absent because of their reasonable fear of being detained by ICE, and of course, a lot of confusion that was running rampant in the community. 31% of students in this area are Hispanic. The operation led to more than 200 detentions in its first 72 hours. ICE agents were seen arresting people at restaurants, grocery stores, parking lots, and a church. Local officials stressed that no immigration enforcement activity was occurring on school grounds, and the school district stressed that it does not collect or share students' immigration status, which is as it should be. Still, widespread worry spurred businesses to close, families to stay home, and community protests to break out across the city of Charlotte. Local station WRAL News reported on the widespread demonstrations in North Carolina. Take a look.
Hundreds marched through the streets last night in protest of what the Department of Homeland Security called an operation to remove public safety threats. Border Patrol agents and top official Greg Bovino have been seen moving through the city, questioning people about their immigration status and making arrests. Local activists say law-abiding people are getting caught up in the operation dubbed Charlotte's Web.
What we've seen in the last several days in the detentions in Charlotte and here are people being detained not committing crimes, but outside of the grocery store, or pumping gas, or hanging up Christmas lights.
The incident she's referring to can be seen here, where agents questioned a group of landscapers decorating a Christmas tree. Meanwhile, North Carolina Republicans put out a statement calling the operation, quote, long overdue.
Really, long overdue. Wow, thank you for protecting us for people stringing Christmas lights. But before we go on, we have to keep the pressure on. So please, like and share this video, and if you believe in our mission, please subscribe to the Mary Trump Media channel. This is only going to get worse, of course, but I think we need to understand now that the people being detained in the eyes of the Trump regime have committed a crime. They've committed the crime of not being white Americans who were born in this country. North Carolina's Governor Josh Stein spoke out against the ICE raids in his state. Here are his statements on the matter, followed by a response from Border Patrol Chief and fascist Gregory Bavino.
We've seen masked, heavily armed agents in paramilitary garb driving unmarked cars, targeting American citizens based on their skin color, racially profiling and picking up random people in parking lots and off of our sidewalks, going after landscapers simply decorating a Christmas tree in someone's front yard, and entering churches and stores to grab people.
But what do you say to the governor?
John, again, almost everything he said is a lie. Those individuals hanging Christmas lights, how does that governor know what the criminal record is of that individual hanging Christmas lights? Oftentimes we find these so-called hard workers have significant criminal histories such as child rape, aggravated assault, drug traffickers, and many other crimes. Does Governor Stein want those individuals in his house next to his family doing any type of work? I don't think he would want that.
That is what is known as a straw man argument, because that Nazi thug almost certainly doesn't know what the criminal records, real or fictional, of the people being detained in Charlotte are either. And what he's doing there is vile. It's a bit of gaslighting, because he's suggesting he does know whether or not these people are criminals, and indeed what kind of criminals they are. And then he is blaming those of us who have a problem with doing away with the right to due process, illegally detaining people and disappearing them, with being just fine with releasing child predators out into the world, which is really rich coming from somebody who belongs to a party of child predators. Greg Bavino is a tiny man who has been given way too much power. And because of that, he and his boss are not going to stop. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating, because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.